Hey everyone, Jason Zurich here again for Falling Apples.
And I am Ezra Zurich.
Again, I'm Ezra's father. He's my son. And just wanted to, before we get into it, remind you too that both Ezra and I would have loved to have my father be a part of this. He passed away in April of 2025. And so we weren't able to do this, but I think it's safe to say that both of us realize there are things he taught, not just me, but even taught Ezra. And that's where we get the name Falling Apples. The apple does not fall too far from the tree. Mm-hmm. And again, it doesn't really go back to my father, but even goes back to my grandfather. And
yeah,
just kind of neat to see how much you're like those that came before you, huh?
Yeah.
Whether the good or the bad.
Exactly. What we learn, what we pick up, and how the different generations see different things. Yeah.
Yeah. So today we're going to be getting into niceness versus kindness. Mm-hmm. Not that people have been asking about this per se, but I've been having a number of conversations about this probably for 2 years at least. Have you had any conversations with people other than with me?
Yeah, I have. I think it's can be worded in a couple different ways, but yeah. Yes.
Okay. So some of you might be wondering, well, the difference, what's the difference? Well, I wanted to just share with you again out of 1 Corinthians 13. We're going to go there a lot during this podcast, not just today, but all our episodes. I mean, if we get the love part wrong, what's the point? So 1 Corinthians 13, starting in verse 4, and I'm going to go all the way through verse 8 at the beginning of that. At least love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. It is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. So love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. So right there it says, love suffers long. Okay, love is patient. Mm-hmm. Love is kind. Okay, it doesn't say nice.
Yeah.
So we did just a quick search and try to find a definition for the difference between niceness and kindness, and asked for a definition for nice, and this is what came up, and both of us thought this was actually pretty good.
Niceness within the Bible.
Yeah. So nice definition in the Bible.
Yeah.
And it says the Bible doesn't use the word nice, but promotes deeper virtues like kindness, gentleness, and goodness, contrasting them with mere pleasantness, niceness, that avoids truth or conflict.
Yeah.
Biblical kindness involves benevolent, active compassion, reflecting God's character, while nice, quote unquote, often means agreeable or polite, but can be superficial, lacking the courage to speak hard truths in love. Now, there I think is the difference, but let's talk about that a bit. So we hear this word tolerance all the time, that we need to tolerate. Well, the struggle with that is, again, in the verse, 1 Corinthians 13, in the text there, it talks about love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. So love does not tolerate evil.
Yeah.
But it rejoices with the truth. And there, I think, lies the struggle, because we shouldn't tolerate sin, but we should be kind with people who are doing sin. So there's part of the difference. You want to dig into that a little bit?
Yeah. I've brought this up a lot, but especially in our Western culture right now, it's all about the niceness. And people would definitely say niceness and kindness are one and the same. But there's definitely a difference. And I think it's just the niceness is, people would say it's nice to be accepting. It's nice to be tolerant. Where kindness is, there has to be truth spoken. Even when, like the little definition we had here, it said it could be hard spoken truths, or how did it word it there? Yeah. So nice can often mean agreeable or polite, but can be superficial, lacking the courage to speak hard truths in love. And I think that's something that we, as not only a Western culture, but definitely as the church, we've gotten away from. We lack that courage to speak the hard truths again in love, but be kind in calling out the untruths.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is super important to be willing to call out the hard truths. Now, part of it is we need to have a relationship
Yeah.
with a person. If you're going to hold them accountable, if you're going to, say, hey, now wait a minute here. Here's what the Bible says. Well, make sure they even believe the Bible.
Yep.
I mean, when a person doesn't believe the Bible, why should they care?
Exactly.
I, and that's not picking on a Christian. That's not picking on a non-Christian. I'm agreeing with you. Those of you who are saying, "Well, I don't believe the Bible." Okay. Now the struggle with that is there are parts of the Bible I think you believe, and maybe you don't even know it. For instance, I would say most of us believe stealing is wrong.
Yeah.
Most of us believe that murder is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Well, where do you get that idea from? It's from the Bible.
Yeah.
Absolute truth. Now, in the society we're living in, where truth is just relative, how you feel at the moment or what you think. Well, but there are some things that are definitely absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of where I get to a point of that niceness and kindness are different. Do you have any examples you want to share?
Yeah. I constantly go back to sports because I mean it's what I do. I coach, but one of the biggest examples for me is if you let certain acts go on being nice, like I'm not going to call this out because I don't want to whatever it may be. I don't want to hurt this player's feelings. I don't want to call him out in front of his teammates slash friends. Whatever it may be, I'm just going to let this action continue to go on. If the action is wrong or against whatever you're teaching or however you want to word that, eventually it's going to sting. Whether it's in training where they no longer are keeping up with their team because they've been making that same mistake over and over and over, and we never have out of love and kindness called it out, or they're going to feel it on the field when it actually matters. And I think that can even be translated into not just sports, can be translated into reality. Which I'm not saying sports aren't reality, but at the end of the day, it's just a game. So can we translate it into reality and
to real life?
Yeah, I think you had a good example.
Oh, I'm only laughing because mine is about sports too. So don't get upset. We don't talk sports all the time, but Urban Meyer actually said this. One of the biggest mistakes leaders make in failing to hold people accountable for behavior that is inconsistent with the culture. Remember this. If you permit it, you promote it. I personally, I live there. It's why some people, and I'm just being honest, I know some people really struggle with how I hold people accountable on some things because they think I'm being mean. Mm-hmm. And they're like, can't you just be kind? I'm like, I'm going to be kind, but I'm not going to be nice.
Yeah.
And so my example, years ago, and this is when Ezra was younger, he was on a basketball team where we had made a decision as the leadership of that team that we were going to try to be a incredibly tough defense for basketball. Like we had a goal. Our goal was to keep teams under 40 points every game. This is at the high school level, by the way. So just, that's tall order.
Yeah.
Okay. Under 40 points. And most would say 50, but we were like, no, we're going to turn up the heat. We so want them to keep them under 40 points. And so me, the coaches, by the way, I was the athletic director. And so we agreed on that. And that whole year, we were working on it and things were going really well. And, we got to a point where one of the games that we were playing in, we played a team. Now, by the way, I'm not patting them on the back or anything like that. I'm just telling you what happened. They were given the opportunity to play a team that hadn't scored under 50 points all year. Mm-hmm. And this team was good. Like, they were dunking the ball in like practices. They were good.
Yeah.
Okay. We knew this was going to be a tough game. And so, and our boys knew it was going to be a tough game. Well, they won that game, our team, 31-27. You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. Just, that was, it's one of the greatest victories I've ever been a part of. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was so great. Well, also during that year, so we were definitely moving in the right direction, mm-hmm. being kind with holding people accountable and trying to help them not only on the defensive side of the ball, but the offensive side of the ball too. And we encouraged our boys, look, when we're on offense, if you're going to shoot the ball, make sure we've been moving that ball around for a time. And I don't even remember the time we picked. I personally like when teams pass the ball around and I don't want to say hold on to it, but not shoot for at least like a minute would be great. That's a long time. Just so you know, for those of you who don't know basketball, it's a very long time. But it's teaching patience, self-control. And so we would teach that. There was one player, the senior on the team, who struggled with this because he'd been taught all of his life, all of his basketball life, go, 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 go. And we were trying to help him unlearn so he relearn.
Yeah.
Well, this team lost 5 games all year. That was it. Okay. They lost 5 games all year. They found themselves in the championship game of their conference for that year. And then they found themselves in another championship game that year in a later tournament. And they lost those 2 games because during that year, the coach that we had did not hold this player accountable to, hey, we need to play this way. Because in the very last game of the year, we were playing that team and we lost 5 games. Ready for this? We lost 5 games all to the same team.
Yeah.
So we had this team on the ropes on the last game of the year. And we had the ball with a minute to go. And we had taught everyone for if there's a minute to go, we are going for the last shot no matter what.
Yep.
Well, this young man decided in that moment, because he hadn't been taught patience, self-control, he pulled up with like 45 seconds to go or something like that. And the other team got the ball and we ended up losing the game.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just devastated. He was devastated.
Yeah.
Now we all were upset. Yeah. And what I loved about it is one of the players after the game went up to him and said, "You didn't lose that game for us. I lost it in the first quarter because I should have made my free throws." To me, that is amazing, taking accountability, first of all. But second of all, that young man should never have been put in that position because the leader, the coach, should have held him accountable in the year. Again, one of the biggest mistakes leaders make is failing to hold people accountable for behavior that is inconsistent with the culture.
Yeah.
Remember, if you permit it, you promote it. Again, that's Urban Meyer. And I share this because not trying to pick on the coach or that player. I'm not doing that. I'm saying this coach, though, allowed that to happen all year and never taught that player in the moments where he's stressed out and freaking out, that he never taught him, hey, we keep passing around. We keep sharing the ball. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think for me, the biggest thing that sticks out is it's the action of inaction affected not just the player who took that final shot. It not just affected the teammates. Like, it affects everybody. It affected the families. Because, I mean, we all knew we should have won the game. We had it won. We were going to win. It affected the families. I'd even say it affected the other team. Because they should have lost. They should have dealt with it would have been crushing for them, but it would have been a good life lesson for them too. And it just, the one action of being nice rather than being kind, and like this quote from Urban Meyer, not holding people accountable to the standard or what the culture is, affects everybody. I know we're running short on time, but
No,
what I
we're
was
doing
going to
great.
say was how I believe that this affects like day to day is you can look at so many different areas of life. You can look at things in the workplace. You can look at politics. You can look at our judicial system. Like any time that there's a slip in culture, it affects everybody because you're changing the culture. The culture changes. It's not just that one thing that you're affecting. And I'm not saying there's not time for grace. There's absolutely time for grace. However, if the same thing is being done over and over and over, and we say that the culture and the standard is X, and we keep doing Z, there's got to be some type of kindness that occurs, and there's out of love an adjustment.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a great point to make. I mean, and so really, discipline
Mm-hmm.
is kindness.
Is kindness.
When you discipline a person lovingly, that is kindness. You also use the word too, grace. Friends, I encourage you to think through what is grace? Because some people would say, well, grace was letting that player do what he wanted to do. And then, no, no. Grace would have been, okay, I'm going to give you a discipline here. I'm going to have you sit on the bench because you keep shooting that ball when you need to learn in the second quarter. Don't do that.
Yeah.
We need you to make one more pass so we, if you will, have the ball for another 15 seconds. And teaching all year that and having them sit down, watching, and then giving them another opportunity, that is grace.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
it does.
Or is that just too mean?
No, I think that's kind.
Okay, well,
Might not be nice, but it's kind.
again, friends, if you have any comments or questions, just write us here. Yeah, appreciate you watching Falling Apples and listening, and just go out and make today great.
Yeah. If you want to reach out to us, it's again fallingapplespodcast@gmail.com. Any kind of questions or comments or what you thought about a certain episode. If you have anything that you'd like us to touch on, any topics, we'd love to hear your opinions. Yeah, again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Yeah, make the day great. Have a good one.
See you later.
Peace.
Bye-bye.